Whenever we have one of our Driving.ca long-term tests, we like to get the car in for a comparison with something in its segment that's either fresh and new or a sales leader. Because the Audi Q5 is a sales leader, we thought we'd bring the newest entry into the compact luxury crossover segment, the Genesis GV70. Pete, what are you doing?
I'm just having a moment of silence here for basically the rest of the segment, because this GV70 is coming in punching way above its weight.
So you're saying it's going to kill the rest of the segment and the Audi in this comparison?
You know what? I really think it is. It's a game changer.
Well, it is a fascinating entry and it's got a lot of features for its price. So let's go for a drive and find out exactly how good the Genesis is.
Okay, let's do it. So here we are in the 2022 GV70 by Genesis, and I think this is a kind of deal with Genesis. They have an incredible work ethic and they are buying the best talent. They're basically backing up a truckload of money to all these German engineers from BMW and Audi and the designer from Bentley, and they're just basically giving these guys carte blanche to make the best vehicle they can.
They've obviously sunk a ton of money into the research and development of these vehicles. Genesis has made a leap where they're matching something like Audi on price, like trim for trim and with the upper levels, and you find that this V6 Genesis starts at a similar price point to the Audi SQ5, and they rise at the top trim model. Both end up around $75,000. But what Genesis has done is packed in more engine and more features. The Genesis GV70 has a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6. And that's one of the things that has impressed me the most about this car. It's still got all of the modes you'd expect in a luxury crossover to give you, you know what? It's got the practicality of a crossover, but then you've got a little bit of the sportiness.
And it's also uncannily quiet, I find. Roll up the windows and it's almost like Rolls-Royce levels of isolation in here. And on top of that, I think these seats are pretty great. Do you like them?
They are very nice seats. They're very comfortable, and they've got more adjustability. They've even got the torso adjustability, so it can squeeze you in to perfectly fit whether you're a wider frame or a narrower frame. So it hugs you tight in place when you're diving into corners and stuff like that, because it's got that dual personality. It can handle well, but it can be really serene as a highway cruiser.
Exactly.
And like you were saying, this interior, the attention to detail, what I like is just kind of the character and personality, how they've differentiated a bit with like the curvy shapes. And they've still got the nice stitching and leather and quilted seats with cooled seats and things like that. But it's a look that is distinctly Genesis, and it's different from BMW and Audi and Mercedes.
They're getting away from the German austerity and going for this, curvy, sensuous thing. And there's all these neat little things like the 3D digital gauge cluster here. And I also have to give kudos to Genesis for this wonderful interface. It's super intuitive. And say like the BMW iDrive, you have this nice big wheel here, your hand falls on it. You can dial up most things without having to try and poke at a moving screen. So it's very good.
Yeah, that's actually one of my few complaints about this thing, is that on the console there's actually two large dials. And a lot of times when I wanted to go in and set it into park or reverse, my hand often reaches for the screen controller. So I find that's like the fact that there's two similar knobs there, not necessarily the best ergonomic design. But
if you own this car, you'd have that figured out in like 5 minutes.
But it's a huge wide screen and everything is crystal clear graphics. And it's something where it's like really a game of one-upmanship, right? You know, Audi's got its virtual cockpit. Genesis develops a 3D digital gauge cluster. Audi's got carbon fiber trim, and Genesis develops a carbon fiber trim that's actually got different layers and a different pattern that's unique.
And plus it echoes the sort of that cross-hatch thing that's on the wheels, on the grill.
Really developing a design identity,
That's pretty cool.
And another one of those things, right? But this one's got head-up display, so it's got some really nice exclusive features at that same price that you're getting the SQ5.
Plus massaging seats and the...
massaging and cooled seats. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah, especially on a day like today.
Yeah, so it's loaded with technology. Another place where they raise the bar is in the driving aids. This one has cruise control, but it's got the lane keep assist, but it's also got lane change assist. So if you just tap the signal on cruise control, it actually changes the lane for you if you're patient enough. It does take a while for it to set up because it's got to do its checks to make sure it's safe to do so. In every area, Genesis has done its homework. It's going to really help put the Genesis brand on the map.
Yeah, this is probably going to be their biggest vehicle.
I think it definitely makes a good first impression. So should we get back in the SQ5?
Let's go back in the Audi and
what the segment standard is like?
Yeah, and this is, this is a sporty one, so it's got the Rorty engine and it has some sort of cred as far as canyon carving and all that stuff, so we'll see where that's at.
Okay, so we're back in the Audi SQ5, and for me it's kind of like coming home. I've been out of it for a while, and I've had this as a long-term tester, so it's just something where it's comfortable. And like we mentioned, the seats in the Genesis are great. They've got all that adjustability. I don't need that much adjustability in these seats because they fit me so well. So it's kind of something where it's like, it fits the middle. So it works really well for me.
It's personal. I find for me the seats in the Genesis are more comfortable. But these are fine. They're firm, that Germanic.
And that's kind of how the Audi SQ5 is for me in general. It kind of fits, and I like a lot of the things about it because they just work really well. And it's not overdone, but it's just right in the middle. It's the kind of Goldilocks choice that does everything really well without overdoing anything. This one's a 3-liter V6.
Right, 349 horsepower, 369 foot-pounds of torque. It's a great engine. And it revs, it makes nice noises, it pulls really hard.
Exactly, and if we hadn't just driven a more powerful, more torquey engine in the Genesis GV70, we'd be like, this is all you really need.
Oh yeah.
And it is. It's just the GV70 tops it. And both transmissions are good. I found both of them have some odd little herky-jerky things that start up every once in a while and things like that, but for the most part, when you're driving on the highway or in city traffic, they're really nice. They change gears quickly. You put your foot down the gas pedal, they gear down quickly and get you power.
A good thing about this Audi is that it actually rides quite well. It doesn't have that super stiff sports German suspension that you expect from a performance SUV on 21-inch wheels.
Yeah, that's actually one of the criticisms I have of it. I really wish that this suspension, the Audi SQ5, was a little bit lower and firmer.
Yeah, but you're younger than I am,
Yeah, but when you're buying the SQ5, you kind of want a little bit more of that performance edge to it, a little bit more of that cornering flatness, and it is practical to have the ride height so high you can clear some curbs and stuff and bumps and ditches and things like that, but that's not really the prime use for this. This is definitely more of a city car and a corner car, and I just wish it had a little bit more of that cornering prowess.
Yeah. And my only real criticism with the dynamics is the steering. To me it feels a bit disconnected. It's kind of numb. I don't feel really connected to the front wheels that well. Whereas the actual cornering is great. This thing grips, points, it goes. It has that Audi kind of, clinical aloofness about it. You just,
yeah, it's very precise. It's not necessarily
not
very
engaging. It doesn't make you suck you into pushing.
But it's very precise. It holds the line really nicely, and you come out of it right side up. That's the important thing.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And both transmissions respond well to paddle shift inputs. Although I must say those plastic paddle shifts on this Audi are pretty chintzy compared to the beautiful metal ones in the Genesis. It's all functional.
And it's practical, right? It's like we saw in the rear seats. I mean, both cars are pretty equal. Does the Audi have a little bit more space? Maybe, but it's not enough to really be significant. The Genesis measures slightly larger in the trunk with over 800 liters of storage, whereas the Audi officially is 730 liters. So,
well, yeah, getting into this after the Genesis, it's a bit of a lunch bag letdown in some ways. I mean, there was a time when Audi interiors were the benchmark. You always compared everything to an Audi. And it seems like in newer generations, this one in particular, the actual perceived quality has gone down a little bit, but it just doesn't have that richness that you see with the Genesis. And it doesn't make you feel special.
For example, the Genesis has the stitched leather dash topper, and this is just a really high-grade plastic. And
it's a big hunk of high-grade plastic.
Yes, exactly. So there's a few more details in the Genesis GV70.
There's a lot more details.
This one has some Alcantara here in the door panels, and you know what? It's got stitched leather armrests, so it's got some touches. But yeah,
where's the seat cooling button? I don't see it. Oh, and the massage?
That's got to be one of the big misses in this vehicle is the lack of actual cooled seats in a $75,000 vehicle. That's, I think, something that Audi needs to fix in the packaging of the next generation.
But I will say that the 19-speaker Bang & Olufsen audio in this car is very good. And I'd say it's a wash. It's pretty close to the Lexicon system in the Genesis. So yeah, with both these vehicles, you get top shelf audio quality, and that's important.
I love the virtual cockpit, and it's got various different display settings, but the Genesis GV70, they top it with that 3D effect, and their themes according to the driving mode that you're in are really nice, really sort of great detail in the gauge cluster. And Audi, some people might say it was a step backward to go to full touchscreen. A lot of companies are doing that, but Audi has gotten rid of the console knob controller with handwriting recognition. I used to really like that thing. I appreciate it. I thought it was really good. They've simplified, so now it's all touchscreen, but it's something where I think they've taken away something that I really appreciated. So that's something where, to me, it's a step backward, even though for some people, they might not know because they're not looking at it from generation to generation. I think we've got about all the information we need to make a decision on this, don't you, Peter?
Yes, we do. I mean, I can see there's some differences here, so it'll be interesting to see, who's going to win out.
Yep. All right, let's head back and give a verdict.
Okay, so we finished driving these vehicles, and the Genesis GV70 totally impresses with its design, its interior, the way it drives, the power. Just the whole package is very, very impressive.
The Audi SQ5 created a template with the extra power, good handling, incredible attention to detail and quality in the interior, and really awesome tech. But it looks like Genesis took that template and tried to improve in each one of those segments, and it makes for a better all-around package. It's very impressive from Genesis. The one thing they can't really offer yet is that brand cachet that Audi has taken decades to develop as a leader with its Quattro all-wheel drive and its interior quality and tech. So that's one place where Genesis is going to have to make up a lot of ground in order to start competing on the sales level.
I mean, absolutely. It's a long game for Genesis, but I think that people are really starting to notice. And I believe it won't be that long before Genesis is recognized as a true premium automaker, and probably, mentioned in the same breath as Mercedes, BMW, and Audi. At least that's what they're hoping for. And with products like this, it'll happen.
So there you have it. The Genesis GV70 wins this comparison, but we'll see how it does in the sales charts. For Driving.ca, I'm Jonathan Yarconi.
And I'm Peter Blakeney, and don't forget to subscribe.